For those who serve their communities working for a public entity, two things are always true. They have an infinite list of capital improvement projects to complete and a finite budget with which to complete them. Hi, I'm Joe DeFazio, Executive Vice President of Wendell. I've worked with public entities for over 20 years, so I know that in today's world, taxpayers expect you to do more with less. Every capital improvement project exists in a hierarchy of importance, with the projects at the top getting the most attention. The beautiful new athletic field, the fancy atrium at City Hall, these flashy, eye-catching projects often take center stage and get the most traction with the public. But what about that boiler in the mechanical room? The one that dates back to the Clinton administration and makes weird noise. That needs replacing too, and you can't sacrifice the school's new gymnasium to do it. This is where energy performance contracts, or EPCs for short, come in. By using funds from your own annual operating budget, experienced and accredited energy services companies, otherwise known as ESCOs, can find energy-saving improvements for your equipment and infrastructure that will reduce your operating costs, save you money every year, that can be used to fund more projects. If you work for a public entity, you've likely heard this pitch before from ESCOs, summarized by the phrase, projects that pay for themselves. Sounds great, and it's technically true. EPCs free up capital to get more projects done. But what you probably haven't heard is that not all EPCs are executed in an owner-friendly way. The difference between generating enough savings for 2 projects and enough for 10 is found in the details of the contract. Details that many of our competitors don't want you to look at. How do I know this? I've seen it firsthand. In the early 2000s, Wendell had developed a strong working relationship with a local community college, having completed successful projects for them in previous years. So when the college entered into an energy performance contract with another firm, we were brought in to provide performance contracting assistance. The college put their trust in us to serve as owner's representative, to help them get through the contractual process and validate the project costs and energy savings using our experience. As we began to investigate the energy conservation measures that were being implemented and weigh them against the costs, we noticed that something wasn't adding up. We followed up with the contracted firm, asking them to break down the lump sums that they had provided so we could figure out the source of the imbalance between their lump sum prices and the work being done. Our questions were met with resistance, and over a month of back and forth ensued, during which we struggled to get the clear answers we were looking for. Finally, we managed to get all the parties to sit down at a table together. Upon the insistence both of my team and the college, we were able to obtain a breakdown of the lump sum prices, sorting out categories including labor and material costs, engineering fees, management fees, overhead, and profit. What we saw was a shocking confirmation of our suspicion that this particular company was inflating their pricing and that the college would lose out on the opportunity to implement a really comprehensive and holistic project. But more on that in a minute. Unfortunately, this wasn't an isolated occurrence. Acting in a similar role for other clients, we saw the same lack of transparency play itself out over and over again at the owner's expense. We began thinking about all the public entities who weren't lucky enough to have an owner's representative to protect them. How many ended up with only a few improvements, the low-hanging fruit, and a project that paid for itself, but never knew how much of the process they missed out on? Our clients began telling us they wished we were the ones performing these EPCs. They would prefer working with someone they knew had their best interest at heart, so we listened. And in 2001, Wendell started implementing energy performance contracts directly for our clients. We quickly became accredited by the National Association of Energy Service Companies, or NASCO, proving that we had the ability to deliver successful energy-saving projects. With everything we had seen, we wanted to do EPCs differently. We applied a professionally led, design-build approach that would provide the most project for our clients' money. With this goal in mind, we developed our own unique EPC process, an owner-friendly, open-book approach that features cost transparency, vendor and manufacturer neutrality, along with competitive bidding of subcontracted costs. So what does it look like in action, and how is it different from the approach of a closed-book, self-performing contractor? This can be easily shown by contrasting our approach with the one we exposed in that college conference room, the one that started us down this path. The first differentiator between the two approaches is construction cost. Under the closed book method, this will often be offered as a lump sum without a breakdown of individual costs or an explanation. Under Wendell's open book approach, we expose the true direct construction cost, a method wherein all costs are competitively priced and can be verified by invoices provided directly to the owner as backup. The owner pays less with this method, as we are not motivated or obligated to push one brand, vendor, or contractor over another, and thus can select the best value based on the specific needs of the project. The next portion of project costs come from what we refer to as construction markups. These are fees for services including engineering, project management, overhead, and profit. In our approach, the markups will be fully disclosed and match the fee table in the agreement between owner and ESCO. Contingency funds make up the rest of a project's cost, and this is where our stark contrast develops between the closed and open book approach. A closed book firm will set a hidden markup, essentially a contingency fund, should construction costs come in higher than initially expected. For them, this hidden markup is essentially a hidden profit, as they will set the size of the contingency as high as can be justified by the savings the project will generate, creating a project cap. They do this because in their approach to protect and increase their profit margin, any contingency money that is not needed during construction is kept by the firm carrying out the EPC. Conversely, in our professionally led open book approach, Wendell reserves a completely transparent contingency fund, again to be utilized in case of higher construction costs. However, there are two key differences to how this contingency is handled. First, in the case of the contingency not being necessary, we return that money to the owner. Second, you'll notice this contingency does not reach the project cap. Because we aren't pocketing unused contingency funds, there is no need to set aside as much money as possible. Instead, we look at the value of the work being done and set project costs accordingly. What will remain are owner discretionary funds, capital dollars that go right back to the owner, who then has the choice to put it towards further improvements or whatever use they can think of, because it's their money. When performed in this open and transparent approach, an EPC creates a reinforcing cycle, where projects that increase efficiency lead to reduced operating cost, which frees up capital dollars to complete more projects that increase efficiency, and so on. It is the very definition of doing more with less. Unfortunately, many companies that are offering energy performance contracts would rather make more money for less work, leading to underwhelming results. Even today, 20 years later, this shell game is still being played, and it's the public entities who lose. The next time you hear about a project that pays for itself, dig a little deeper. Find a trusted advisor who will open their books for you and make sure you're getting the most out of your energy performance contract.